I'm not making this video to talk about homelessness. I'm not making a video to talk about how we can solve homelessness. I'm talking about, with the inevitable use of RVs by homeless, how does this affect your average RV recreational user like myself or folks who are full-timing? Let's talk about it some more here. Hey everyone, 3 things. Don't forget to subscribe now, click like in this video, and make sure to get busy living. Let's go. Let's talk about homelessness and RVs. Homelessness and RVs. I've been hesitant to make this video because I'm afraid it might be controversial, but it's just so shocking and overwhelming that it's sort of like the elephant in the room that I feel like needs to be addressed, and so I'm going to address it here on my channel. I've been RVing now for over 18 years, pushing 19 years, and over the years I've watched the culture of homelessness and the culture of RVing get closer and closer, where the line between homelessness and living in your RV is a blurry line. I've talked about this before when I was in Quartzsite and other places, where I've talked about like Slab City and places where it's clearly on one side of the meter, right? Where, yeah, you're living in an RV, but you know, you're basically homeless. Other times, yeah, you're living in an RV, but you're far from homeless. Now let me talk to you about the continuum of what I'm talking about here. The way I determine whether you're homelessness or just living in your RV is by a couple of basic measures. The first one is, do you have the ability to get rid of your sewage? Are you someone who's pooping in a bucket or having to let their sewage go out of their trailer to some place that's not supposed to go? Or does the sewage not even work in their trailer? Again, back to the bucket idea here. If you don't have the ability to drain your trailer of sewage, then you're probably what I would consider closer to being homeless here. Again, we could say houseless or house deprived. I don't want to label anyone specifically, but you get what I'm saying here. There's some basic, rules of sanitation. Sorry, mosquitoes are everywhere. There's some basic rules of sanitation that we've all agreed to live by as a society, and that's made it so that we can all live into our 70s and 80s. And one of those is making sure that we deal with all the effluent of all of this population. I've seen ad hoc homeless RV sites that can get into the hundreds of RVs. I put some film up on my Facebook, and I think I've maybe posted a few clips here, say in the affluent Marin County, California, just north of San Francisco, in Novato, California. I'm not sure if it's still there, but for a couple of years now, ever since the pandemic and longer, right alongside the bay, along this piece of county land, has been hundreds of RVs. They're all parked there long-term. Many, you can tell, are not moving.
Here, the long line of trailers and motorhomes goes on and on and on, stretching for about a mile. Located just minutes away from some of the wealthiest zip codes in the country, this growing RV encampment has come to symbolize the haves and the have-nots in the seemingly affluent Marin County.
Many, you can tell, are not moving. And where are all these trailers, dumping their effluent? Where are they getting water from? Now, of course, you can go buy water and such, but I'm talking about bathing water and cleaning water and being able to clean your RV. It requires fresh, clean water. And if you're not driving your RV to go get water and dump your sewage, then you're pretty close to being homeless. Now, the reason I bring this up is as the economy worsens, and I mean that from Canada to the US, we don't have to get into politics here to make some basic statements that I think everyone will agree on. Economically speaking, the gap between the rich and the poor continues to grow, and there are an increasingly number of people who are homeless. Yes, there are many people who are mentally ill. There are people who are simply too deep into drugs and alcohol, but there are also a whole lot of people who are just genuinely working class folks who had a bad injury or a bad moment and a bad, set of circumstances. Maybe they don't have family to support them. And next thing you know, they're out and they're homeless. And if you're going to be homeless, yeah, I definitely recommend taking the last of your money and putting it into an RV. Even if that RV doesn't have sewage, you're a lot better off being able to lock the door of a hard-sided, hopefully waterproof building than sleeping in a tent or sleeping on the ground. When you're at that point in your life where you're making that hard of a decision, of course you would think about getting an RV. Now that we've had decades of RVs getting produced and sold into the industry and into the population, there's now generations of old RVs that are getting passed down to homeless people. There's even some crazy examples. I'll try to find a link to the article. I think it was in the LA area but they were basically putting old RVs in their backyard, lining them up and charging homeless people to live in them. I also understood that in LA, people are actually placing those RVs on the street in the areas where they're filled with RVs and homeless people, and then again, charging people to live in them. So they're effectively renting them out. We're going to see more of this. This is going to continue. There's nothing on the charts, and I'm not talking about political wins. I'm not talking about if this person gets elected or that person gets elected. I'm saying if you look long-term over all the elections here in the U.S. and Canada, there is a growing gap between the poor and the rich. In the middle class, the folks out there buying RVs and trying to enjoy themselves on weekends, they're getting squeezed out. So we will see more of this. There's nothing on the horizon to say that we're just about through this and homelessness is going to go down and everyone's going to find a place and the problem's going to work itself out. Expect this problem to get worse. Work on making it better. I hope it gets better, but expect it to get worse. What does that mean to you as an RV owner? Well, it means that you're going to functionally have to differentiate yourself from this class of people. And I don't want to be classist, but if you're out there in an old funky RV and you're trying to maybe boondock for a night at Walmart or stop at a rest area, you're going to have probably more problems or get dealt with a different stick from the law than if you're a tourist who's just stopping in the middle of a nice vacation on their way to their destination. These are dealt with by law enforcement very differently. They generally don't care about a family stopping for the night in a safe spot and then heading out in the morning. There are places you just can't do that, but in general, that's an acceptable reason. That doesn't bother people. If you're someone who's homeless, who doesn't have any place to live, and you're basically all of a sudden stopped in front of somebody's house or stopped in some parking lot, you're going to attract the ire and concern of security, of management. That's just the way it is. As you go forward in this RVing lifestyle, you're going to have to think about making sure that you differentiate yourself from this other class of RVer. This RVer that's basically living in a duct tape trailer and just moving it the minimum it requires to not be busted for sleeping in it. What I do is, and this is just naturally happens because I want something nice and new, is for the last, 10 years or 8 years, I've bought new RVs or nearly new RVs in really good shape. I have generally a newer truck. I had my first truck for 18 years, but it looked nice, it looked clean, it looked middle class. I have my new truck, which is obviously not a poor person's truck. And so when I travel with the Ember and the Ford F-150 from 2020, very few law enforcement or management are going to think I'm a troublemaker, that I'm maybe making meth in there, or I'm not going to kind of set up camp and never move again. I've had one or two Walmart security folks pull up and just ask if I was planning to stay the night. But other than that, I generally get treated pretty much like I'm a tourist who's obviously traveling. And of course, people are sometimes even intrigued about the Ember. They want to check it out. So the way I can differentiate myself is simply by having a newer vehicle and a newer trailer. Of course, things you can do is keeping your trailer looking nice, keeping your truck looking nice, making sure the load in the back of your truck doesn't look like it's a bunch of trash bags all filled with stuff, and having it look like that you're a seasoned RVing pro who's on their way to another vacation. These are things that can help. Sometimes when I do park at night or I'm parking for a period of time in a parking lot, I'll go buy something from that place and then I'll just throw the receipt under my windshield. So I figure if security comes by, they can see I just spent $80 at Walmart, and yeah, maybe I'm over at Five Guys getting some lunch, but they're not going to mess with me. It's a way I kind of also say, hey, I'm a local customer here. I'm not here just leeching off you, trying to get free parking. Money's not the reason I'm here. And these are the types of things I do to differentiate myself. It's awful that we have to differentiate ourselves. I really do want to live in a world where there either isn't homeless people or it doesn't matter, but I live in the real world where all this stuff apparently matters. And, if you want to have a trouble-free RV, holiday, then you don't want to be thought of as a traveling homeless person. You want to be thought of as an RVer. So like I said in the beginning, I'm not here to talk about, how we can solve the homelessness problem. I have said that I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. And I think we need to think about how is this going to affect your average RV user who's using their RV recreationally or as a full-timer who's trying to figure out how to navigate a world where increasingly towns, cities, and law enforcement are looking down on RVs being parked outside of RV parks and camping zones, boondocking basically. because of the connotations that it means with the homeless population. So it's getting blurred together, and what you need to do is figure out whether A, you don't care. There are some people who are just like, I don't care what anyone thinks, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Power to you, do your thing. But for the rest of us who are a little concerned about how we might be perceived or treated in this world, you might want to think about how you differentiate yourself as an RVer from the homeless population. And if you do see folks who are out there who are homeless, whether they're in an RV, whether they're drug addicted, whether they're mentally ill, do what you can to dig into your heart and try to be as compassionate towards the situation as you can and as is reasonable. Keep your walls up and stay safe. But just know most of those people, most of them, are just people who have really made either some bad decisions or been stuck in some bad situations. And the last thing they need is us giving them a harder time. So do what you can to be as nice as you can to everybody, including the homeless people. And enjoy your RVing, get out there. Don't worry about this problem as far as you choosing what you want to do. Get out there anyway. Don't forget, get busy living. Thanks, everyone. See you later. I want to thank my newest Patreon supporters, Cindy and Thomas K.